Hello folks, and welcome back to the Soup Empire, a farming simulator series here on the channel. I think I want to take a moment before we begin with today's activities just to say thank you to everybody that's clicked on the previous videos that I've made in this series. This is the 4th episode. To be honest, when I started, I thought if I get 10 views, that'd be amazing. In those 3 episodes, over 70 people have kindly clicked on the video and had a little watch, so thank you if you watched before. So what's on the agenda for today? Well, first up, as we always do, we're going to get our helper to get out there in somebody's field, do a couple of contracts for us, just to keep the money ticking over. Now, of course, we don't need to borrow the items, we've already got the gear. Actually, through the series, I'm going to try and avoid borrowing the items to maximise the cost of the contracts. We've got another one in the field right next door, and a third one a little bit further away, which we might consider later on. So let's go get the Kubota, let's attach the cultivator onto the back. The cultivator's parked nicely up against the wall, as you guys know. I don't do reversing particularly well. So we'll grab the cultivator and we'll set the worker off to go and cultivate that field. So, what's on the plan for today? Well, I'm going to expand what we're doing a little bit. I've had an idea. There's a bit of space in the yard that we're going to utilise today to get something going. I'm going to explain a bit more about that idea as we're taking a trip a little bit later on. But it's something that is going to start us on the path towards the Soup Empire. It's going to start gathering materials and things that we need in order to get going, once we're ready to get going. As we mentioned in the previous video, we're doing some arable crops just at the moment. We've got some canola down there in the field. Just having a look, I mean, these sunflowers must be ready to harvest. There must be a contract for these. And it's the field, it's literally outside our farm. Let's have a little look. Yeah, there we go, harvest sunflowers in field number 6. That's the one right outside. 4,300. The only problem is, don't have a corn header, and you need a corn header on your harvester to harvest sunflowers. Now, I can't afford to buy a corn header, and when we look at the leasing costs for a corn header, it's more than the contract is worth, really. Now, if there were 2 or 3 sunflower contracts, or there was some corn contracts at the same time, it might well be worth going and doing those, really, just to make up a few pound, I suppose. But at 5,000 or 6,000 to actually lease the header, because that's the only bit of the equipment that we need, really. We've got the trailer, we've got the harvester, we've got everything we need. We only need the header, but it's too expensive, so we're going to give that one a miss. Cultivating, though, nice and easy, brings the money in. What we're going to do is we're going to pop our helper in this field, and we're going to ask them to cultivate that field for us, make us some money. So what are we going to do while that's happening? Well, as I mentioned last time, I quite like to, if I buy a new field, I quite like to plough it, so we know we're starting from a nice starting point. So I just need to locate the plough. Where did I put that thing? There it is. Excellent. So we're going to grab our plough. Before we do so, a sneak peek of what's going to happen in a minute. Can that carry water? Yes, it can. Brilliant. Back in the tractor, let's grab the plough and we'll head up to the field. Was it field number 8 I think we bought? I can't remember. It's the one we harvested for the cotton last time. In the dark, if you recall, if you saw the previous video, because it rained literally all afternoon from 12 till 6, and we had to finish up the cotton harvest in the dark. Well, we're going back to that field, we're taking the plough up there, we're going to plough it up. It's a little bit of a mess at the moment, as any field is after you've just harvested it, so we're going to plough it so we know we're starting from a decent starting point. 1 or 2 considerations that we need to think about is we don't have a lime spreader at the moment. Now, while the lime on these fields is not terrible, it's not great either, so we are going to need to think about a lime spreader at some point. So what we'll do, we'll get set up in this field, and we'll plough this crop over and we'll make it ready. Now, if you recall, we're not going to be planting in this field for a number of months. We can't plant what we want to plant until March. What we want to plant is peas, so we'll be able to start planting peas in March. We can't do it now, so we'll just plough it and get it ready. Now, if you've seen the first video in the series, you'll know about this plough. This one is one of my favourites. It's nice and wide, it pulls nice and quick. One thing that I didn't point out that we actually did before we began the video today, if you recall right at the very start, I was stood outside the garage with my tractor in the garage. You'll know we've got a garage on the farm. Actually spent a little bit of money just to upgrade the tractor, because the last time I did a ploughing contract with this tractor, it was struggling a little bit to pull. So I think we've upgraded from, I think, 213 to 245 horsepower on this tractor, and we're already pulling a solid 8 miles an hour around this field. I think it helps that the field is on the flat. We did a contract a little while back in a field on the other side of the map, which is on a bit of a hillside, and the tractor really struggled going up and down the hills. I'd like to think it'd do a little bit better this time. Now we've got the extra oomph under the hood, we've got the extra horsepower, and we're up to 245. But on our field here, it seems to be pulling really nicely. And just on another completely unrelated note, I do love the way autumn looks in this game. It's really beautiful, the colours on the trees. You can see up in the top right hand corner, we're currently in the month of November, so there's not that much to do on our own fields. We do own two. If you recall, the other one is currently growing canola as a bit of a cash crop for next year, just to get a bit of injection of money into the soup empire. And this field obviously will be for peas once March rolls around. But I think for November, for today, and for the next couple of episodes, which will be December and January, it'll just be a couple of contracts here and there. There's a big purchase, a very, very big purchase that I want to make, that we'll talk about a bit later in the video. We've spoken about it before, but we'll talk about it later in the video, and that is, of course, the facilities to make our canned food, to make our soup and various other canned goods, and that's very costly, and we are going to need a big chunk of cash really in order to get that done. So it'll be contracts in December and January. We've also got some crop to sell in January. We've got some rye that we harvested way back in the very first episode. In fact, before the first episode, I remember starting the first episode with, hey guys, we harvested some rye before we arrived, or before we started filming. So we've got that crop to sell. I've got another little money making venture that we're going to implement a little bit later on in the video, which we'll get round to in a few minutes. But for now, I'm just going to be quiet for a little while and allow the tractor to plough this field. So there we go, guys. The field is pretty much done, and we're there, good to go. Apologies for the little mix-up with the time lapse at the start. I think it was meant to start a little bit earlier than it actually did, but hopefully you stuck with it, and here we are, just finishing off the last few bits of the field. So I've been hinting today that we're going to do something to make ourselves a little bit of money, and we're going to head back to the, after we finished ploughing up this last little bit of cotton, we're going to head back to the farm. But while we're on the way back there, we can talk about the plan. So there's a bit of a gap between the garage and the house, and I've been doing a little bit of experimenting, and I've noticed that it will just fit a greenhouse. Now then, the plan that I've got for the greenhouse is this. So normally when I use greenhouses in Farming Simulator, it's obviously to make a little bit of money, and we are going to do that. We're going to set up the classic lettuce selling, which gives you a nice little bit of passive income. Lettuce is worth quite a bit. It doesn't produce as quickly as others, but when it does produce, it's probably the best crop that you can do with the greenhouse. Oh, bumping into the gate. You'd think I'd know how to get through this gate by now. It's normally the crop that you put in a greenhouse when you're looking to make money. We're just driving past that gap on the left there just now. So we'll park up the plough, and then we'll go and have a look at this area, and we'll see what we can fit inside it. But the other thing that I want to use this greenhouse for, not just for producing lettuce and selling it immediately for that passive income, which is always good. Always good to have some money, some money coming in. I've forgotten the key. What key is it to drop things again? Q. That's it. It's always good to have a passive income with the lettuce. But I've also got another plan for this greenhouse. What I want to do is I want to start producing tomatoes, but I don't want to sell the tomatoes. I want the tomatoes to spawn in pallets outside of the greenhouse, because I'm thinking we can start to stockpile them. And if we start stockpiling the tomatoes, we can eventually use them in our canning factory to create us our tomato soup. Now, before we do that, we're just going to move this helper into the next field. I didn't mention it at the time, but we picked up a second contract for cultivating in a field that happens to be right next door to the one that we've just done. Very, very, very handy to make a few quid. So we'll just take a moment to let the helper do their thing, and looks like she's off and running with the ups and downs. Fantastic. So let's jump out this tractor. Let's go over and have a look at the space that we're going to work with today. Mind the tree. Space that we're going to work with today. So here we go. I've already prepped it a little bit. There were some trees and bushes back here. I've already cut those down and disposed of them. Apart from this one, we'll just remove you. Thank you. Very good. If we go into the construction menu, then we'll see that the double-barreled cheap greenhouse, not the glass one, the what do they call them? Agro tunnels, plant tunnels. I don't know. They call them something. We can get the one with the two domes, and it fits wonderfully into this spot here, leaving a beautiful little place for us to put the water in, and also down the side a lovely little area for us to collect the pallets from. It's currently overlapping, so we're going to go into cheaty mode by pressing the B key. The game doesn't recommend that you do this. Pressing the B in free mode can cause things not to work properly. So I'm going to check this greenhouse once we've got it set up and got some water in it, and make sure that it is actually producing and we haven't messed anything up by using the free mode. So here we go, our beds are ready to go. Now the nice thing about greenhouses is the only thing that they need is water in that blue bucket. That's where the pallets are going to spawn for us. Just tomatoes, remember. We're going to put the lettuces on selling. We're going to put the tomatoes on storing. So the lettuces will get us the passive income, and the tomatoes will find a spot for them, and we'll stockpile them as and when they appear, ready for when we've got our canning factory. Now, we mentioned the only thing it needs is water, so we need a source of water. Now, I did check earlier in the video that this tanker that came with the farm when we bought it, I haven't paid for this, it was already with the farm, could it carry water? And the answer is yes. So we're going to head off and we're going to find a water source. Now, running right through the middle of the map, autosave, quick sippity, to quote somebody else, there is a water source running right through the middle of the map, and I think when I went from one field to another with the helper, I spotted a little ford, you know, where the river is so low that you can just drive through it. There was one of these on the Saxlingham map, so let's go check that out and we'll see if that works for us. So I nearly missed it, you might have seen I drove straight past it. But here it is, just in this little valley down here, this very misty valley down here. It's quite lovely down here. The very shallow part of the river, just here. And I think, as I mentioned on Saxlingham, there was a ford and we could grab water from that. I think that's deep enough that we can just drive the water bowser down into it and fill up, but you never know until you try. So let's get down there. We'll have a go at filling this thing up, and if it can, then this will be a good source of water for us for the greenhouse for now. It's a little bit of a drive, not too bad at all, to be fair. I'll probably do a lot. There you go, yeah. The bowser's filling up with water, that's fantastic. I'll probably do a lot of the water filling off camera, to be honest, because watching me drive to the river, fill it up with water, drive back, fill up the greenhouse, drive to the river, fill up with water, drive back, it's going to get pretty dull. So I'll probably do a lot of the water filling off camera. Just keep that topped up before we start recording episodes to make sure that our greenhouse is always producing for us. Now I don't want to back too far into this river because I don't know how deep it gets, and it's a little bit hard to see with these with this mist. you know, whether we're going to be getting our water bowser or even ourselves stuck in the river there. So very carefully just back out of there, come back up, struggling up the hill a little bit now that it's full of water. Water's pretty heavy, don't you know? And we'll head back to the farm and we'll fill up the greenhouse and we'll get it going. Like I mentioned, the free mode, when you place things, the game does sometimes say to you, be careful using this because you can mess things up. It lets you put pretty much any object anywhere you want it to be. And the game is usually quite finicky about where it allows you to put things. Like when I was first trying to place the greenhouse, I couldn't see anything it was overlapping. It wasn't overlapping the building to the left, it wasn't overlapping the building to the right. And I'd made sure I'd got rid of all the stumps and all the bits of bushes and stuff, so it should have been some flat ground, but it still wasn't having it. But we placed it in free mode, and we'll double check, once we get it filled up with water, that it is actually starting to produce something. I mean, it'll be fairly obvious. As soon as you fill a greenhouse with water, plants sprout instantly. Wish it was like that in real life, you know, you'd plant something and give it a bit of water, and you've got an instant germination. Obviously in real life it's a little bit slower than that, but in this game, fantastic. Let's fill this greenhouse with water, and once it's full, we'll just go and double check that it's working. There's that cool workshop to the right. Still haven't found a use for that, other than the fact that it looks quite cool. Alright, so let's avoid the tree. We'll have a little run round, and what we should see, now that the greenhouse has water... Of course, we've forgotten to actually tell it what to do. Alright, so as we mentioned, lettuce we are going to sell. So we'll click lettuce, we'll activate, and we'll change the output mode to selling. And tomatoes will also activate, and we'll change the output mode to storing, or we'll keep the output mode on storing so it generates pallets for us. So that's going, and there you go, instant plants, just add water, fantastic. We've got some lettuce and some tomatoes growing, brilliant. So we'll leave that to do its thing. It takes a little while for the lettuce and the tomatoes to actually to grow, but you're pretty much guaranteed that every night after you've been to sleep and wake up the next morning, that you've got a couple of pallets of tomatoes and a little bit of income from the lettuce as well. So never a bad thing. For the cost of the tunnels, which was 17,000 I think, and then the water, which is free, it's just a license to print money really. So we're back in here having a look at the contract. Anything I can do while the helper is doing the cultivating. Fertilising's always tempting because they're quite quick, but I'm not sure about fertilising. There's another cultivating one, we'll probably grab that one for the helper to do. The thing with fertilising is I'm always quite concerned that I'm going to run out of fertiliser with like 10% of the field left to go, and you end up spending £1,000, £2,000 on fertiliser, and it makes the cost of the contract come down quite considerably. Now, I appreciate that rolls on to the next contract, and there's not normally a problem with that, but yeah, it's just the hassle of running out of fertiliser, and if you're on the other side of the map, you've got to come all the way back to the farm, you've got to pick some more up, and it's just a little bit of a hassle. So whilst I know they pay pretty well and they're pretty quick to do, it's not something that I tend to get involved in. Just checking the price of rye. Yeah, it's still January's going to be the best price. We're still a couple of £100 short of what we can get if we're just a little bit more patient and wait till January. And then just checking the price of the canola. I've got no idea why the canola's still in the ground growing. I think just to compare, canola's worth a little bit more than the rye, but you get less yield off the field, I believe. Although I've not done rye before, so I'm not entirely sure. We got about 12,000 units off that field. It'll be really interesting when we bring in the canola harvest, just to see how much canola we get, whether it's comparable, whether we get a bit more, whether we get a bit less. It'll be interesting. Looking at corn headers, I've still got that sunflower head thing in the back of my head. Can we lease and harvest a corn header? Or can we harvest and lease? Can we lease a corn header and harvest? Get your words in the right order, Stefan. The answer is, yeah, it's not really worthwhile. The leasing is £5,000 to £6,000. The contract's worth just over £4,000. and there aren't any other contracts on the map at the moment for corn or sunflowers, so there doesn't seem to be very much point in going ahead and doing that. So what we'll do instead, we've got a helper working on a field. They're 85% done. We've got another contract ready to go for our helper. So I want to take a little drive. I just want to take you guys on a little drive, and I'll explain why on the way down. I notice we've still got these 2 bags of solid fertiliser on the back of the van. Should probably sell those. Anyway, that's not going to happen in this episode. The first thing I want to show you guys, I want to tell you about, is I finally learned the best way to get from the farm to the town. Finally, I hear you say. Yes, finally. Over the bridge, turn left, keep going. Eventually, or very quickly, you hit the main road. So as long as we take the first left here and just keep going on this road, don't deviate, we're going to hit that main road. I'm pretty sure our helper is going to finish up while we're on our way down to where we're headed, which I'm keeping a surprise. So we'll have to address that on the way down there. But while we're on the way down there, yeah, there you go, contract finished, almost as we were speaking. So we'll just finish this little journey up to the main road, which is coming up right here. So much easier than the route we've been trying to take in the last 3 episodes. I think even I can remember that particular route. But before we carry on, we'll just get our helper and fold up the cultivator, and we'll get them going down using the auto drive to the field, which is field number, let's take a look, was it 17? 15. That was close. So we'll head them down to 15. Auto drive, if you remember from, I talked about it in the first episode, fantastic mod, particularly for maps that are not made by giants, maps that are made by content creators. The maps made by content creators, the AI drivers that you can use, often struggle. Don't know about you guys, I watch Daggerwin and Chainsaw in their multiplayer series, having all sorts of problems with the AI drivers just to drive around simple routes. They just don't seem to be able to manage it on maps that are not made by giants in a lot of cases. I had the same thing on the Saxlingen map. So I downloaded AutoDrive, and what the guys who created AutoDrive did is they created these wonderful little courses around the map. And the AI workers, when you use AutoDrive, in my experience, very, very, very rarely do they get stuck, and they don't do silly things because they follow a predefined set course. They don't make their own decisions about which direction to go. They follow these predefined courses that the guys who make the mod create for maps. Not available for every single map, but certainly the ones that I've played so far, they have these course files that you can download. Anyway, go check out AutoDrive if you haven't already. It's fantastic. Now we could take a left there into the place I wanted to show you, but we won't, because that is in fact the way out. The way in is just up here, not that one, because there's a no entry sign. Is it the next one? It's coming up now. No, another no entry sign. Let's be good citizens and go the way we're supposed to. Here we go, here's the way in. And this is what I wanted to show you guys. This big factory here, this is our goal. For the Soup Empire, this is where the magic is going to happen. This is where our tomatoes are going to go when they've finally spawned and we're finally able to afford this building. This is the soup and canning factory, or the conservas. Forgive my complete lack of Spanish pronunciation here. Established in 1983, I think that says. Can you imagine our articulated lorries pulling up here? Here's a door that I left open on a previous visit. We'll go inside and have a look. I'll show you guys around. This is what we're looking to buy. They apparently don't mind complete strangers just wandering in and having a look around. Here's where the magic happens. Here's where all the goods come in. Here's where the pallets of goodies, tinned goodies, are going to spawn. Soup and various other things as well. So the Soup Empire will become the Soup and Canned Goods Empire. But it's £233,000, as you can see. And we're a long way away from that. But this is the goal. You've got to have a goal, right? You've got to have something that you're aiming for. And this is the goal, to buy this facility and to keep it fed with productions and crops and create £1 million in a single year, which is the goal of the series. So this is it, guys. That's the bin. We're just going to have a little look and just see where we would be dropping stuff off. Again, we are waiting for our contractor to arrive, or our helper to arrive at our contract field. Let's go have a look around the left hand side. I think this is where we drop the stuff off. So when we do make the tomatoes, we do own the facility, we can, I think it's just here, we drop it off in this little, drop the pallets off in here, and they'll go into the production, and it looks like ahead of us there's a little drop off point for crops from a lorry. I'm going to have a look at the production at some point actually, see what else we can make in here. I know about the vegetable stuff. Hang on, there's a settings button back there. I wonder if that does anything if we don't own the building. Let's go and have a quick look. Just back here. There we go, the little cog. Does it do anything? No. Guess we need to own the building before that'll do something for us, and we'll find out in due course. So I thought we'd have a little diversion there, guys, just to show you down to the goal, what we're trying to get to. I'm going to head back down to the farm now, and I'll see you back there. So here we go. I think we can all agree that that is a far less painful journey to and from the town, and that's the route that we'll be using from now on. Can't guarantee it's the quickest, but it doesn't seem too bad. Alright, our contractor has arrived, or our helper. I keep calling them contractors, I suppose they are contractors, but they've arrived in the field. We've started them off, and away we go. 737 litres in there. May have been enough, may not, don't know. We'll never know, because I'm not going to do the fertilising contract. So what can we do? We've got a little while left while our contractor is doing what they need to do. We'll have a look at the contracts. We're probably going to look at that fertilising one again and discount it again. I don't really want to do it. I'm drawn to it because it's such a good money. I mean, it's 7.7k for a job that'll probably take about 3 or 4 minutes, the way these fertilising jobs work. But no, I'm going to stay away from it. Yeah, that sunflower contract is still there for field number 6, you know, the one that's literally outside our door, which would be ideal. But again, I'm looking at the £1,000 cost for the equipment hire. If I wanted to lease the header, then it's going to be too much. It's no good for us. So let's have a little look. I mean, I want to buy the field one day. How much does it cost? 141,000? Yeah, I think I want to get the canning factory first, because I think if we can, by the time we can afford the canning factory, we'll have a field full of peas ready to go into it. We'll have loads of pallets of tomatoes ready to go into it. So I think what I'll do is we'll just let this contractor do his thing. I'm going to and ah about what I'm going to do for the rest of the episode, and we'll see you in a minute. So off camera, guys, decided to head down and pick up another bowser full of water. As I mentioned, they're probably going to do all of this water carrying off camera, just because it gets a little bit tedious. But the greenhouse itself, I think, can hold something like 20,000 litres of water, and every time we dump one of these in, we're dumping in 8,000. So it's good to keep it topped up whenever there's a spare 5 or 10 minutes when the contractor's doing something and you've got a bit of time to spare. Keep your greenhouses topped up, guys. Save your job in the long run. Is it producing? It is. It's producing 43 tomatoes, 29 lettuce, not a lot. It has to go to 1,000 before you get a sale or a pallet. But at least it's producing, and that was my main concern, because we used that free mode. But everything seems to be doing okay. So let's go have a look at these contracts. I've spotted a nice ploughing contract, actually, which pays pretty well, and is really, really close to our farm, so it'll take us virtually no time to do. As you can see, I'm still tempted by these sunflowers. The main reason why I'm tempted is because A, it's so close, but on reflection I'm going to need to drive down and pick up the header that we lease anyway down into the stores. That's going to add some time onto the contract, and if you look, it's 5,500 for that one. And if we got one of the other ones like the Case 2 or the Holland, we'd have to get a header trailer as well, which would add even more expense, because we can't drive up the street with one of those on the front, causing all sorts of carnage. So that's much cheaper at 2,700, and we'd make a profit on the contract, but we'd probably kill some people on the way back as well, and we don't want to do that. This is a family-friendly channel. We don't want to be taking people out while they're just trying to enjoy a drive from point A to point B. Now, there is another sunflower contract on there. Add those two together, it makes about 11,000, 10,700, 11,000. Nah, I'm still not convinced. But I need to do something just to keep ticking over. So let me show you these ploughing contracts. We've got a couple. We've got one that pays 7.5 grand. That's not too far. That's not too far from where we've got our helper working currently. But check this one out, guys. Right next door. All we need to do is pick up the plough. Oh, no, we can't. We've already got contracts active, 2 of which are complete, of course, so let's just collect the money for those. But the field, once we accept the contract, field number 4, and it is right next door to our canola field and about 20 seconds drive away from our property. So what we're going to do is going to head over there, guys. We're going to pick up the plough first, obviously. Head over there, do this ploughing contract, keep the money ticking over. We started the episode, money-wise, with 39,000. We've dropped down to 18,000, but that's because of the purchase of the greenhouse. But the contracts are really going to help, help with the money ticking over in this episode to make sure we've got something coming in. I think before we head down there, guys, let's just make sure the dog's got some food. No, he's run out again. There we go. Here, boy. Here, boy. Ghost. Come on, buddy. Got your food here. Are you there? He's normally not too far away, is he? Normally I'm running him over with a tractor. Are you out here, buddy? Nope. Okay. I'm sure he'll be bounding over from whichever distant part of the map he's exploring today to get his food. So let's head down. I will see you down at the field, and we will begin the ploughing, and this will be the final contract of the day. Just pausing the ploughing for a moment. We're coming up on our canola field. Just going to jump out and take a look, really. First of all, because it's our field, and it's always nice to have a look at your field. The pH level I'm noticing, we mentioned it at the very start of the episode, we're going to need to get a spreader at some point and get some lime onto our fields, because while it's not bad, it's not great either. It's just about okay. And you need to try and obviously maximise the output of your fields, which means keeping the pH balance, keeping the acidity or alkalinity, whatever the soil needs. I don't know. But we need to keep that in check. We need to keep it balanced. But we did fertilise the field, and we did spray it for herbicides, so we've got no weed troubles, and we should have good yield from the fertiliser spreading. So let's plough this contract. And just like that, we are done. The field wasn't too big, but it was a little bit bigger than it looked at first sight, so it took a few minutes extra, but that's okay. We're getting paid a nice little lump sum for this, as you do for all the contracts. That's why we do them. So we'll head back up to the farm, and that'll be us done for the day, guys. All our harvesting, not harvesting, all our cultivating is done, our ploughing contract is done. We've set up the greenhouse today and talked about the plans for that. We've topped it up with as much water as we need right now, just to keep that going for the next couple of months. We took a trip down to the canning factory, had a little look around there, which was good, just to get a bit of an idea of where we're headed and the kind of money that we need to raise from the farm in order to do that. 233,000. So let's park up the tractor. I need to sell that baler. I don't think I'm going to be doing any baling. I remember talking about this in episode 1. I'm always in two minds about baling. You do get a decent payout from it, but our fields are not big enough to really warrant the effort that it takes to bale them. From that first crop, for example, we only got 4 bales, and that's not going to get us a great deal of money. I mean, money's money, but it's not going to get us a great deal of money. You really need a bigger field if you want to make a lot of money out of baling, and I have done in the past on Saxlingham, made a lot of money with the baling. But the bale, it's not worth very much. It's a mod, and it's a fairly cheap one. So we probably won't get much money for it, but rather than have it lying around the yard and not using it, we might as well make a few quid off it. So with the accepting of those 2 contracts, guys, Looks like we're going to finish up the episode on around about 31,000, having started on 39. And if you recall, that's including the tractor upgrade as well, which is pretty decent. So, as well as the extra horsepower in the tractor and the greenhouse and everything else, we're doing okay financially at the moment. Just checking the route to get this Kubota and cultivator back to the farm, turn back on ourselves. I will head back up there and I will see you back and we'll wrap up. Here we go guys, back at the farm. It's only a short journey, it didn't take very long at all. So as I'm feeling pretty good about how this episode has gone, I'm going to attempt to reverse park this cultivator in this little gap just here, or this little part of the shed just here. So right to go left, left to go right, try not to hit the trailer, knock it out the way, and knock the cultivator straight into the wall. Right, forget it. I will do some practicing, guys, I promise, off camera. So I'd like to thank everybody very much for watching today. If you made it this far in the video, a like and a subscribe would really be appreciated. But once again, thanks to everybody that has clicked on these videos. It's been really encouraging and a good start. So I will see you in the next one.